Good morning, students. Today our topic is computer system, and in this lecture we are going to discuss about different types of computers. So first of all, what is computer? A computer, as we know, that is an electronic device that can perform mathematical operations, logical operations, and graphical operations. So these are the three different types of operation which computer can perform. And this is the block diagram of a computer system. Computer system basically divided into four basic parts or four main parts. These are input device or input unit, output unit, storage unit, and central processing unit. And this is a block diagram in which four different parts are uh, they are in four different blocks, and these blocks are interconnected to each other to make a block diagram of a computer systems. And it is already discussed in our previous video. So basically, in this diagram, there are two different types of lines. First represent data flow, as you can see in the screen, and where dotted line represent control flow, and all dotted line are belongs to control unit. So control unit, as we know, that control the entire operation of a computer system. So dotted line are there. These are the components of a CPU. If we talk about CPU, then CPU can be divided into three main parts. Two are control unit and arithmetical unit, and one is register. So basically, control unit control the entire operation of a computer systems, and it sends signal to different units connected to a computer systems. Where arithmetical and logical unit perform arithmetical and logical operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and as far as logical operations are concerned, these are related to less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to. These are the logical operations. And a register basically the small memory inside the CPU. So actually, register are the smallest memory within the computer systems. So you can easily see here that these are the basic components of a computer systems: control unit, arithmetical logic unit, and a register. And input unit, input devices, output devices, and secondary storage are connected to CPU. You can easily see on the screen, and that is a RAM. Memory that is written here is basically RAM, random access memory, which is also known as main memory. Next, what is register? A register is basically a temporary storage area built into a CPU. So it is a temporary memory, or we can say that volatile memory. And register are a type of computer memory used to quickly accept, store, and transfer data and instructions that are being used immediately by the CPU. So they accept, store, and transfer data instructions that are being used immediately by the CPU. And the third important point is the registers used by the CPU are often termed as processor register. So register are also known as processor registers. And a processor register may hold an instruction, a storage address, or any data. So you can say that first of all, register is the smallest memory. Second, register is a part of the CPU. Third, register basically accept, store, and transfer data and instructions that are being used immediately by the CPU. And register are also called as processor registers. So register is vary in both numbers and size depending on the CPU architecture. Some processor have 8 registers while other have 16 or 32 bit registers. For many years register were 32 bit, but now many are 64 bit in size. So as far as size is concerned, so register size is 8 bit, vary from 8 bit to 64 bit. Most of the common size is 32 bit, but nowadays 64 bit is very common. So registers basically vary in both the numbers and the size, and it depends on the CPU architecture. Next part of the CPU is arithmetic and logic unit. So this is unit performs, as we know, that all the computing function as given below. Here these are the different operations performed by arithmetic operations, and it include addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And logical operation involves comparisons such as less than, greater than, less, equal to. So these are the logical operations. So basically, arithmetical and logical units perform two types of operation. Arithmetic operation, when we talk about the arithmetical operation, it means addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And we talk about logical operation, it simply means that comparison, less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to. So all these type of operations are performed by arithmetical and logical unit. And register, which is the second part of which we discussed earlier, basically the smallest memory inside the CPU, and it provide basically the storage for CPU, or so storage for calculation done by arithmetical and logical unit. Third important part of a CPU is control unit, written as CU. So the control unit of the CPU directs the entire computer system to carry out or execute or store program instructions, and the control unit directs data flow between the computer processor, memory, input output devices. So I think there are some mistakes here. First of all, it is a control unit. Next thing is, it is written two times, between data flow. So control unit directs data flow between the computer processor, memory, and input output devices. So control unit directs the data flow between the computer processor, memory, and input output devices. In short, we can say that control unit control the entire computer systems, and it basically directs data flow between the different parts of a computer system, and these parts are computer processor, means CPU, memory, and input output devices. And it is also responsible for execution of the program. So control unit responsible for the execution of the program, as well as it sends different signals to different parts of a computer system, such as the computer processor, memory, and input output devices, and directs data flow between these devices, or between these parts. In overall, we can say that control unit control the entire operation of a computer system. So that is the difference between CPU and ALU. Actually, when we compare CPU versus ALU, then one thing should be clear. ALU, CPU and ALU is a part of the CPU, and ALU is basically perform the all arithmetical and all logical operations, and the CPU contain three basic parts. ALU is one of them, second is CU, and third is register. So first point regarding to CPU, electronic circuitry within a computer that carries out the instructions of a computer program while performing the basic arithmetic, logical, control, and input operation specified by the instruction. And in ALU, you can see that it is a combinational digital electronic circuit that carries out arithmetic and logical operations on the operands in a computer instruction. CPU stands for central processing unit, while ALU stands for arithmetical logic unit. CPU handles instructions that are necessary for the proper function of the computer, and ALU perform arithmetical and logical operations. CPU focuses on carrying out instruction on a timely basis and performing the functionalities accurate on time, and while ALU focuses on mathematical and logical reasoning. In short, we can say that ALU is a part of the CPU. ALU perform only the logical and only arithmetical and logical operation, while CPU not only perform the arithmetical and logical operation, but also sends different control signal to different parts of a computer system, such as the input device, output device, or the memory. So one thing should be clear, that ALU is a part of the CPU. So all the functions all the functions belongs to the ALU are the functions of the CPU also. But CPU in CPU, basically there are three parts. ALU is one of them, second is CU, and third is register. So we can also write the functions of control unit in CPU also. That means as we know that control unit control the entire operational computer system. So CPU control the entire operation of the computer system. In broad aspect, we can say that, while ALU perform only the arithmetical and logical operations. Now these are the types of the computer system you can easily see on the screen. Basically, computer system can be divided into two broad categories. First of all, you can see that types of computers divided into two broad categories: purpose-wise and principle of operations. When we divide computers on the basis of purpose, then there are two broad categories: special purpose computers, and second is general purpose computers. So special purpose computer, as the name suggests, perform specific tasks only, while general purpose computers can perform a variety of tasks depending on the program given. Second, which is main and important type of computer, and this is on the basis of operations. So on the basis of operations, principle of operation, we can divide computers into three basic categories: analog computers, digital computers, and hybrid computers. So analog computer work with a continuous physical quantities like voltage, current, temperature, etc. that is take input in the forms of volt, ampere, and Celsius. And when we talk about the digital computer, so digital computer work with the digital data. This means discontinuous data, and converted in the forms of 0 1. So when we talk about discontinuous data or digital, so digital means data is stored or in the forms of 0 1, and so data is in the forms of 0 1 in digital computers, while in analog computer work with continuous physical quantities such as the voltage, current, and temperature, etc. And third is hybrid computer. Hybrid computer is nothing but only the combination of both the analog and the digital computers, so that are called the hybrid computers. Now again, digital computer can be classified again into four basic categories. Okay, five basic categories. First of all, embedded computers. Embedded computers are embedded within a circuitry, and example of embedded system are mostly used in home appliances, such as washing machine. And another example of embedded computers are the machine which is used in petrol pump, which show the which convert the price of a petrol to the quantity of a petrol. And second is personal desktop computers. Personal computers, also called the microcomputers, and that have a single processor. Again, personal or desktop computer divided into four different categories. You can easily see that: mobile or handheld computers. Second is PCs, portable PCs. Third is workstation, and fourth is desktop computers. So mobile or handheld computers are easily transportable and can be held in hands, but have limited capabilities compared to their bigger counterparts. While portable PCs, a smaller version of the desktop PCs, and can easily be carried out in a briefcase. And the example of portable PCs are laptop, notebooks, tablets, computers, PDA, that is personal digital assistant. And third is workstation. Workstation are basically are the PCs with high capabilities. And next is desktop computers. Desktop computer can fit in on a desktop. That's why they are called the desktop computers, and mainly suited for single user of operations like educational training, small businesses, gaming, and personal uses, etc. Next is a mainframe computer. Basically, mainframe. Okay. Uh, Personal computer. Third point is mid-range server or mini computers. So mini computer basically are the medium-sized computer used to host programs and data for small networks, and they are large and more powerful than desktop. Next is mainframe computers. Mainframe computers are larger and more expensive and powerful than mini computers. They usually operate 24 hours a day, and standard choice of large organizations like hospitals, universities, banks. And last is supercomputer. So these are the most powerful and expensive computer, and have several processors and perform billions of instructions per second, and they are very powerful and these are the fastest computer among all of these. So these are the different types of computer, and this is the classification of computers. You can easily see on the screen. So let us discuss all these types of computers in detail. First of all, analog computers. As I told you that these computer type work with continuous physical quantities such as the voltage, current, temperature. That is, they take input in the forms of volts, ampere, and the Celsius. And analog computers are mostly used in the engineering and scientific applications. And electronic, uh, this is an example as far as an example of analog computer is concerned. Analog computers basically works on physical quantities such as the voltage, current. So these are the physical quantities, and these are the continuous work on the continuous physical quantities. So any device which work on the physical quantities is an example of analog computer. Next is digital computers. Digital computer work on the discontinuous set of data, that means in the forms of 0 1. So digital computers are much faster than analog computers, and they are far more accurate as compared to analog computers. Next is hybrid computers. Hybrid computers basically are the combination of the analog and digital computer. So that's why they are called the hybrid computers. So hybrid computer utilize the best qualities of both the digital and analog computers. These computers are basically used in weather forecasting, and these computers, some calculation take place in analog manner and rest of them takes place in digital manner. So these are the combination of basically analog and digital computers, and applicable, and the application of hybrid computers basically they are used in weather forecasting. Next is a microcomputer or personal computers known as PCs. So these are the normally single microprocessor, single user system designed for performing basic operations like educational, training, small business applications, playing games, etc. And microcomputer can be further classified into mobile or handheld computers. So mobile and handheld computers can be held in hands but have limited capabilities. Second is portable PCs. These are the bigger than mobile computers. Example of portable PCs are laptop. Next is desktop PCs. These computers can fit on the top of the desk. That's why they are called the desktop PCs. Next is workstation. They are similar to the personal computer but have the greater memory and more extensive mathematical abilities, and they are called the workstations. Next is mini computer. So mini computer, also called as mid-range servers, are more powerful computers than microcomputers in terms of processing power and capabilities. An example of mini computers are PDP-11, VAX 7500, Magnum, etc. Next is mainframe computers. Mainframe computers are designed to handle huge volume of data and information, and these can support more than 100 users at the same time. That is the main purpose to use a mainframe computers, because they can support more than 100 users at the same times, and they are very large and expensive computers, and they have great processing speed. Example of mainframe computers: ICL CDC 6600, VX8842. So these are the example of mainframe computers. And next is supercomputers. Supercomputers are most powerful computers among digital computers, and these consist of several processors running together. So more than one processor are there in supercomputers, and some of the supercomputers have the computing capabilities equal to that of the 40,000 microcomputers. So one supercomputer is almost equal to the 40,000 microcomputers. An example of supercomputers are Cray, XMP14, CDC 205, Param, etc. These are the example of supercomputers. And always remember that supercomputer work on the concept of parallel processing, and having more than one processor is one of the part of parallel processing. Now, types of digital computer: embedded computers. These computers are in the forms of tiny chips embedded within the circuitry of appliances such as television, washing machine, and dishwashers. And these computers are typically pre-programmed for a specific task, so they do only some specific task only for a particular machine, such as the tuning to a particular television frequency, keeping accurate time. So embedded computer systems basically are used in home appliances such as television and washing machine and dishwashers, and they are designed to perform a specific task only. So these are the different types of computers. Now I think you are able to understand different types of computer systems. Now let us see the diagram again and give a brief description about all these. So basically types of computers is concerned. Computers can be divided into two basic categories on the basis of purpose and then on the basis of principle of operations. When we talk about the purpose wise, then these are special purpose computers and general purpose computers. And when we talk about principles of operations, then there are three different categories: analog computer, digital computer, and hybrid computer. Analog computers basically works on physical quantities such as ampere or volt, and digital computer work on the discontinuous data quantity and data values such means in the forms of 0 and 1. And hybrid computer are nothing but only the combination of analog and digital. And example of a hybrid computer based, mostly hybrid computer is used in weather forecasting, where we use both the property of analog and digital computers. Next are digital computers, again divided into five basic categories. First one is embedded computer. These are basically embedded or these are used in home appliances such as a washing machine or a television set. Second is personal or desktop computer. So personal or desktop computers again classified into four basic categories. First of all, mobile or handheld computers. These are the smallest in size. Second is portable PCs. Example are laptop. Then workstation. They have high capabilities as compared to normal PC, because they have more memory and uh, more capabilities to solve more capabilities of to execute instructions. Next is desktop computer. This is mostly common type of personal computers, and they can fit on a desktop, so that they are called the desktop computers. Then mini computer, mainframe computer, and supercomputer. Among these, mini computers have smallest size as compared to others, and processing speed is also less than mainframe computers and supercomputers. Then mainframe computers, these are the large computers, and they can usually operate on 24 hours per day. And last, supercomputers, so they have more than one processor and they are very powerful. So these are the classification of different types of computers. This is a classification of different types of computers. Our next topic is memory. Second, storage memory. So there are two types of memory: secondary storage and primary storage. As we know that primary storage is also called as the main memory, and secondary storage is referred to as external memory, secondary memory, and also sometimes called as auxiliary storage. And it is a non-volatile memory that holds data until it is deleted or overwritten. So data is stored permanently in secondary storage device, so that's why they are called the non-volatile memory. So secondary storage or non-volatile memory, and sometimes it is also called as auxiliary memory. So all things are same: secondary storage, external, or auxiliary storage. And it always remember that it is a non-volatile memory. It means we can store data permanently into secondary storage device. Then the question is in your mind: why does a computer need secondary storage? It is possible for a computer not to have or use secondary storage. It is a dumb or terminal. However, for most computer end users, secondary storage is required because of the need of permanently store and some data to a computer. Without primary storage, if you were working on a document and the power turned off, everything would be lost because primary storage is temporary. However, a computer with secondary storage that saves the file before the power turned off would be able to recover the last saved version of the file. So we need, in short, we can say that we need secondary storage because we want to store the data permanently into our computer system for future reference. So that's why we use secondary storage. These are the example of secondary storage: hard disk, optical disk, memory card, pen drive, floppy disk, Blu-ray disk, magnetic tape, SD card, external hard disk. So these are the example of a secondary storage. Now, what is the difference between primary and secondary storage? That is a very important question. So difference between primary and secondary storage there. The main difference is primary storage is a volatile memory, while secondary storage is a non-volatile memory. And primary storage have limited capacity, while secondary storage extendable capacity. And primary storage store data temporarily. It means that it's a volatile memory, while secondary storage store data permanently. And primary storage is much more expensive as compared to the secondary storage. And using primary storage, we can access data in very fast manner, while secondary storage are very slow. So we can say that using secondary storage, data access is very slow. Primary storage directly accessible to the CPU, but secondary storage is not directly accessible by the CPU. This contains copy to the main memory before being accessed by the CPU. So data goes from the secondary storage to primary memory or primary storage and then to CPU. So we cannot access data directly from secondary storage to primary. Secondary storage we cannot directly access. Actually, CPU cannot directly access data from secondary storage. So secondary storage data first goes to the primary storage and then only CPU can access that data. So this is the difference between primary storage and secondary storage in our computer system. So when we talk about the primary storage, basically our meaning is so we talk about at that point of time RAM, random access memory, and here when we talk about the secondary storage in our computer system, then it means hard disk. So first of all, data goes from hard disk to RAM and then it transferred from RAM to CPU. So that is the last point, directly accessible to the CPU when we talk about primary storage. And in secondary storage, content copied to the main memory means RAM before being accessed by the CPU. So this is the difference between primary storage and secondary storage. Now the difference is very clear. First of all, primary storage is a volatile memory and secondary storage is non-volatile memory. It means that we can store data permanently into the secondary storage, while data is stored temporarily in primary storage. And third thing is that fast data access is there in primary storage, but secondary storage there is slower data access. When we talk about slower data access, it means read and write operation regarding to memory. So secondary storage is take more time as compared to primary memory when we just perform read write operation or we access a memory. Next is expensive. Primary storage is much more expensive as compared to secondary storage. When we talk about the size, so for example, 1 GB primary storage have much more price as compared to 1 GB secondary storage. And the last and the most important point is primary memory or primary storage directly accessible to the CPU, while secondary storage content copied to the main memory means RAM and before being accessed by the CPU. So secondary storage means hard disk is not able to send data directly to CPU. First of all, data copied to the primary memory and then goes to the CPU and then accessed by the CPU, which will also be there in our block diagram. You can easily see that data goes from secondary storage to primary storage, and then data goes from primary storage to CPU. You can easily see that. And after the processing, data again go from CPU to primary storage, and then primary to secondary storage for if you want to save the data permanently. So this is all about our today's lecture. I hope you like this video. Thanks for watching this video.